Morning. I'm very glad to be here again and to see so many of you interested in the topic of positive content. Great. So you can hear me fine? But if I'm doing it wrongly, just wave at me so I keep the mic in the right position. Um, I think I will just jump into the topic. Perfect. Thank you. Of positive content for children, and I want to do that. Sorry, I did something wrong. I think I stopped the presentation. Oh, okay. Thanks. I want to give you a little background of my organization I'm coming from. I'm from the nonprofit organization of fragFINN in Germany, and we are establishing a safe surfing environment for children from 6 to 12 years old. So it's a little bit older, the age group, than the presentation before now, primary school children mostly. And we do this by establishing a whitelist, which is a list of secure and safe websites, which we as a media pedagogics team have checked beforehand. And we've been doing this since 2007 and are funded by companies and associations. You can see that on my chart. And another important aspect of our work is to collaborate on a European level. So especially from 2012 to 14, we have been part of the thematic network POSCON, which means Positive Content and Services for Children in Europe. And I will both speak about findings and criteria from a fragFINN as well as a POSCON perspective. The topic of positive content has a very positive approach to online and digital media. So we solely focus on the opportunity side now. Also in my presentation, I will now not talk about the risks and challenges, but more about opportunities and chances all these websites and services are bringing to children. A whitelist, as I mentioned quickly before, is a list of websites which has been checked by a set of criteria by media pedagogues. So this is what fragFINN has been doing. We have acquired around 11,700 domains by far, which we have checked, and we check them again and again if they are still safe for children up to 12 years of age. And this is doing two things. It's firstly, this way, children are offered more than 11,000 websites which are safe and not harmful, so they can learn to use the medium on their own and also in a safe environment. But also, it offers a great diversity of websites because, as you can imagine, 11,000 websites, there's a huge variety of content and features and elements there, so that children with any kinds of interest find something for them. Also, this quality content is made visible through this website. Sometimes it's very hard for children, but also teachers and parents especially, to find positive and quality content. And through the means of a whitelist, we make this more visible and this way also promote positive content, especially to parents and teachers and children. We have come up with concrete guidelines and criteria. And I will now quickly go into this and show you how we support mainly providers of content and services, that they know how to make their content and services safe, what questions they have to think about when they start producing something. But also it's a very good guideline for parents and teachers to look at and see what kind of questions could I ask myself if I come across a website or app or online game, if this is okay for my child. So here you see the criteria we have come up at the POSCON network. You can also find them online. I will show you later the website and also the print material you can find here at the conference even. This is very similar to the work fragFINN has been doing, so we have put a lot of expertise into this criteria among this expert network, which included more than 20 countries of Europe. And I will quickly go through this chart. One of the main points obviously is that websites and services and apps have to be safe and secure for children. So all the content there has to be okay for children under 12 years of age, and no harmful content is to be allowed on that. But other important facts are to look at. Is it clear what kind of target group the website or app or game is having in mind? Is it very visible? And also, is the language and the images and sounds used by or on this website and content and services appropriate for this target group? Another important point is usability and accessibility. Providers have to make sure that children with the level of competences they have at this young age are able to use the website and find their way through it easily and know where to click and where to move. And accessibility is a very important point because we actually want to make all content and services be accessible to everyone, also people with disabilities, for example. So if producers from a start off make it as accessible as possible, for example, all the structure and language and images have to be readable by assistive technologies, or for example, every image needs a replacement in text, so to say, so that whenever blind people would look at the content, they could get a read message what's displayed on the image. Something like that is very important, and inclusivity is actually a benefit for all of us, not only for people with disabilities. Attractiveness is very important. It doesn't really matter what kind of content I want to display to children. Also, educational or news content, whenever if it's fun and entertaining and engaging or interactive for children, they will be very engaged and they will like to be on the website or use this app. The last 2 points are more from a structural side, so to say. Privacy is a very important point here. Obviously, privacy laws have to be ensured by the provider, that's a given. But also parents and teachers can have a look at the content and see if there's some explanation, maybe even addressing children directly, which explains whenever there's data this website needs for some things, that they explain why they want to have this data and what they do with that. So the providers should be very transparent and open about this and explain it easily, and that's also something we can look out for as parents and teachers. And whenever social media, communication and or commercial elements are included on content and services, there have to be certain rules and they have to be very safe. So the providers then should explain very openly why they're having certain elements on the website, for example, advertising because they want to finance themselves. Then it has to be very transparent and clear that what parts of the content are commercial, or whenever there's social media communication, there have to be very safe and strict rules about how they check the content, for example, or how children maybe can report stuff which is not supposed to be on the website. And based on this criteria, I will just give you a quick chart of the principles of fragFINN, which is one part, the most important part, is the criteria catalog. You just saw the post-con criteria, which are very similar to the fragFINN ones. But also, and I will now quickly go into the best practice examples I brought from Germany and all over Europe. We have more, the focus is even wider because we do not only look for the safety issues the criteria catalog states, but also want to include as diverse as possible content and services as possible. So children also at primary school age should be able to get to know as many features of the internet, websites, blogs, video content. They should be able to create and produce themselves. They should be able to inform themselves about news. Also, the content offered for children, if they give them a safe surfing environment, has to be up to date. Whenever there's something happening in the news or some events is taking place, we want to be able for them to find information about that on our side. So now I will show you a lot of examples from our whitelist. So this is all content and services which apply to the criteria. They have been checked by the whitelist. And I have always picked a little focus. So the first examples I show you are all enabling children to be very creative online. The first one, you always find the website address below, so you can check it out later. Opera Maker is a website which actually teaches children how the opera works. What kind of elements do I need? How is it working? And they do that in the form of a virtual opera children can create themselves. So either they can pick already existing opera, like the Magic Flute, or they can start by inventing their own individual opera, and then they get to choose from background pictures. That's the backgrounds here. They get to choose the main cast, who's starring in their opera, and they can decide how is it going to look like, and what kind of elements and features are the characters given on stage. And then they can change around here, maybe with the background and the situation, who is the main actor, who's good and who's evil, and then they can even record their own sounds on it. So in the end, they have a great opera on the virtual stage, which they can share with their parents and their friends or in school. And I think that's a very nice way to teach something maybe not so well known to children, classical music, opera to children, and let them try out themselves. The next example is Kritzel Club, which is a website focusing on painting and drawing. So there's a lot of tools available children can choose from. And also there's a lot of knowledge and information about, for example, you can just draw for yourself, just freely, but then you can use a mirroring technique, or you can paint together with a friend, or you can paint blindfolded. So they try all these different techniques for painting and drawing. And then they have these little video clips showing children how to use different techniques. For example, here they show how, if you have just a single circle here, or like ice cream cone, or many of them, how different this is in the result. Or here it's a narrow and a wide distance you can use. So all these features, and then you can also upload pictures you have drawn, and others can take them and go even further and draw more on them and change it. And sometimes it's just a crazy, colorful mess in the end, but I think it's very creative and very free to use for children. The next example is Merlantis. This is a virtual online game where children learn anything about magic and wizardry, so it's very fantasy world-like, but it's all connected to nature. So all the virtual magic and secret finding in the game happen in gardens and parks, and those have been actually taken from actual parks and gardens in Germany, and children are encouraged to actually go out to nature afterwards and find all the secret plants and animals they have been finding in the game, to find them in real world. So this is actually a very nice concept of combining a virtual online game and the possibility of going outside with your friends and finding stuff in parks and gardens with your family. The next focus I have is children as producers themselves. I think that's very important when we talk about positive content, that we don't only offer them a lot of great websites and apps, but to encourage them to take part in the production process and create something themselves, because it's very easy actually to take part and not be passive, but be active and create something as well. So I will show you two different video platforms. One is Trikino, which is focusing on cartoons. Children can create their own cartoons up there, and then I show you just two quick examples that you can see that, as with the well-known big video platform you all know, also here children can comment on each other's videos, they can rate them and share them with friends. And you see this has been a very popular, a little cat video. It's only a couple of seconds long, but they draw all the characters themselves, and then they can move them around and add music or sound. So this is very creative. And also another example in this category is Yuki. It's a video platform as well, but here you can upload any kind of video material, and it's all checked against criteria. So every video you find on there is safe for children, and you see that many children are uploading Minecraft and gaming videos, obviously, but also it's a great place for reporters or children's TV stations to have a channel there. So this is the example I'm showing you now. They do news at least once or twice a week. So very often they have their news and magazine videos up there, and get a space to broadcast them even further than in just regional TV, for example. And also on Yuki there's again a cartoon movie maker tool, so also here cartoons can be created. Another example of production is websites. Primolo is a software tool in Germany, which is mostly addressing schools and teachers, and in the classroom they can now, with this tool, build up their own website. They can choose from different backgrounds, they can choose if they want to include images or video. And I think there's great examples up there. For example, this one class has done a project on the Middle Ages, and then they show different news articles and pictures, how a city looked like in the Middle Ages, what the clothing was looking like, what kind of events were taking place, and the music. So they divided all these things up and showed this on their little website. And this is another great example, the website by another class called Wild Animals. And actually they did not only create a website, but they also took this to their English lessons, because the whole website is in English, and every child got to explore and write an article about one wild animal. So you see a long list of animals here, and the children got to write their own English articles, and then they drew a picture and put it on their website. So it's a really good combination here of English lessons and competence in building up your own website and having exploring digital competences, actually. Lexicon is another great example. It's probably looking familiar to you because it is actually a Wikipedia for kids. And this means that all the articles are checked against by a team, so all the articles are safe and okay. But more importantly, they encourage children to be active, to produce articles themselves, to make this children's Wikipedia even bigger. And I find really important also that they teach a lot, not only about the articles and writing and how is it working to get your article into a Wikipedia, but also they teach about what kind of pictures can I actually upload. They will always check if all the photos included here, do they have the rights to include them, and is the right source given? And if this is not the case, they will immediately remove the picture and contact the child and tell them what went wrong, to make children aware that they cannot just use any pictures they find online and display them. This example is actually taken it to a more offline level, because this is the gallery of lego.com, where children are encouraged to upload pictures of their creative buildings with the Lego toys. And I think that's a great example also to combine online websites and content and offline play. And I think that you can see here, this is one really elaborate castle built there, and there's a lot of comments, a lot of positive ratings, and I think it actually encourages other children to then get off screen and build this and be creative with their Lego toys. Another example of video, but very special, because Guck mich TV is a video content magazine. It's actually made by teenagers, not so young children. But the special thing about them is that they produce every video with sign language. So we have a very inclusive and accessible video content here. For people who cannot hear. So I think that's actually a great example. And another example is newspaper children's reporters. There's the website Duda News, and they have child reporters who go out and report back from whatever they have seen. Here it's an article about breakdance, and then they put this online, so they learn how an online newspaper works, and they learn a lot about journalism. And I think that's also a great example of how to use this medium. Now I'm going to the educational parts or examples. I picked out examples which combine actually educational or school topics, but in a really fun way. This is a website about the Vikings, the life of the Vikings, and children are in this virtual village of the Vikings, and then they have to fulfill little tasks. For example, here the main character is in a dialogue with the mother, and she gets certain tasks. For example, the winter is coming, we don't have enough food, please go to the village and try to exchange other products we made into food. And then she gets to take objects with her, and we learn a lot about what crafts and what kind of tools the Vikings had and how they used them, because you always get an explanation for every kind of object you obtain. This is another dialogue, and you see it takes you into different places of the village to get to know different professions, how did the houses look like, how did they work. I think that's a great example. Another one is Paxel 123. It's from Iceland and made by an education professional, a teacher who came up with this idea of educational online games when she didn't even have the means to fulfill them themselves, and she got together with students and other teachers from all over Europe to come up with these games. And really interesting for you, especially because it's not only in Scandinavian languages, it's also in English, and also there's a section in Polish, and it's mostly educational games on mathematics and language, and they are all accessible and also available as an app. This example teaches children how to prepare for emergency situations whenever there's a fire or a flood, what kind of emergency backpack should I have in my apartment and have to have ready. So here you see there's a smoke detector going off. I think that's also a really good idea to teach this online maybe and simulate certain scenarios. This is a research website where children are encouraged to do little experiments in natural sciences, which they can also take off screen or into the classroom or do with their families. Another well-known example, I don't have to talk long about that, it's Sesame Street. I think you all know that, and of course they have the great educational content, songs, games online as well. And also I brought some examples of positive content which are not only made for children, because I think that's important to know also. It doesn't have to be strictly children's websites. It can also be a website which actually addresses all of us, but children can learn a lot from them. This is a blog about a village which has been divided by the wall in Germany when Germany was still divided, and you learn how they lived then. This is a really nice website of a zoo. This is a website displaying different video and pictures on historical events, so children can prepare presentations in school, for example. Or this is a blog about technology. So this is all not just focusing on children, but very interesting for them too. Or my favorite example is pottermore.com, the huge community about fans of Harry Potter. And I think that this is a great example where children and adults meet alike, because I think many Harry Potter fans are long grown up, especially me. And then I have two examples from a more structural point of view, because I showed you the criteria at the beginning, and this is, for example, a great example of how privacy can be taught to children. So here they want to have their email address whenever kids have a question and want feedback, and they tell them that's just the contact form on the website, and they teach children that they don't have to give any data, just they have to give their email address whenever they want feedback or an email back. And then I explain exactly below in language, really accessible to children, what they do with the email address and that they delete it afterwards. So that's a great example. The explanation is appropriate and clear and direct. And another one is transparency and also parent involvement. When you log into the lego.com community, they encourage children to never ever use their real name for that, and they include the parents in the signing up process. So, and the last point of view I want to make is how can children actually access positive content? And one gateway can be a search engine for children, as it is fragFINN.de, the website I'm coming from, which leads children to only positive content, as you can see here, through the search engine and also through the editorial boxes, because all the links and surf tips are here have been checked. And we are very happy that our users are still growing every year, and we want to teach them how to save surfily, but also how to use a search engine, so they get tips on that, and they get hints how to search successfully. And always they can hit, I will show you here when I show you the search. So this would be an example when I search for the word Bach. All these different kind of results come up. So you see the huge variety again. Not only children's websites, also websites interesting for everyone. And another possibility, talking about the gateway and safety, is not to have it just as a website, but also we do have a browser app for Android and iOS, and we are working on the Windows version. It's for free for iOS and Android so far. And also here you see that the search engine is in the focus, but you also find a lot of editorial content there. Parents and teachers can find a lot of material. I think transparency is the clue. You find the criteria online. And also I brought you not only on our German website, it's basically in German, so maybe more interesting for you, is the checklist and criteria of PostCon, which I brought you. I have them here, so when everyone who wants to have a copy, just come to me. I brought a couple of them. Otherwise, they are free to download from the PostCon website. And there you will have all the criteria I mentioned in the beginning and best practice examples from Europe. And also very interesting is that we have a 2-page checklist of criteria, so very condensed and short in 13 or maybe, I'm not quite sure, maybe even 14 languages now. And all the other results from PostCon, there is a lot of results which have been translated into more languages than English. So check out the PostCon website for that. And my last point I want to make is a focus on this great book, which has been like a side result of PostCon as well. My colleague Remco Pipers was in the PostCon network as well. He will speak in a second. And he put together this great book, Positive Digital Content for Kids, where experts reveal actually their secrets and how they put together great content for children. And this is also available for free download. And here I will show you just a couple of pages, because I don't have a print version with you, Remco. I don't know if you can know, but you can download it for free. It's a great book, and you get a lot of inspiration. And it's not only for providers, but for teachers and parents. I think it's so interesting as well how great content, services, and apps were produced. So this is it. I think I'm out of time, so if there's questions, I will be here after the session. Just come up to me and ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you.